Hello, I'm James Temperton, digital editor at Wired UK. Today, we're going to be talking about how companies can unlock new value in existing data by not just embracing new technologies, but also by new ways of thinking. To help me untangle all this and much more besides, I'm joined by Lorenzo Bavasso, Data Analytics and AI Director at BT Global, and Nina Fertacz, Managing Director of Applied Intelligence, Customer Sales and Service Lead at Accenture. Nina, Lorenzo, welcome. Let's start with some introductions. Lorenzo, I'll come to you first.
Okay, so as you said, my name is Lorenzo and Bavasso, and I lead the data and AI practice in BT Global. My mission and remit in the company is to really drive, define, and execute the data strategy for BT and its global customers.
And Nina, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Great, thanks. And thanks for having me here. My name is Nina Fertacz. I'm part of our Applied Intelligence practice, and I lead customer sales and service function within there, which basically focus on driving positive change with data and AI to customer value and customer experience and service. And over the last year, I've been working with Lorenzo at BT Global on supporting them and Lorenzo on their journey to establishing data and AI capability.
Thanks so much for joining us. Lorenzo, Nina mentioned it just there, the word journey. And what we're talking about today is a journey that many businesses are yet to go through. So take us back 12 months or so to the start of BT's journey to transform its data culture. What did you want to achieve and what were the challenges as you saw them at the time?
Well, when I joined BT, actually, even a bit before that time, a bit earlier than 12 months ago, there was a big ambition, and there still is, for BT Global to become a truly data-driven organization, right? So the ambition and that one headline was there. I think what has been my approach and then focus in the last 12 months, because since 12 months it really picked up, was to convert that one line into a strategy that was executable by the company. BT's customer focus, there is a lot of focus on the single multinational customers, of course, but probably there was a connected vision that was to be built. But coming back to the headline, what we realized is that yeah, we had to build one strategy to align all the company on, but also to distribute the execution of the strategy. Because if you want to be truly data-driven, data has to happen everywhere. AI has to happen everywhere. It cannot happen only in one central place. And so this is basically the principles I've been working on in the last 12 months. Central vision and strategy, distributed and ubiquitous execution of it.
On that point about ubiquitous execution, I think this is a challenge that a lot of companies face. There might be one division within the company that's willing to go all in on this way forward, but getting all the different parts, of particularly a very large organization, to get behind a project like this can be quite challenging. So what challenges did you face there, and how did you overcome them and make sure that everybody was moving in the same direction to get this project over the line?
I think, as I said, probably since there was a big aspiration, then it's easy in a way to align everyone on the vision. Then when you go into the organization, you find, as you said, a lot of different levels of maturity. So what you do usually is that you pick the more mature or more willing parts of the organization to lead by inspiration. So you do something there and then you lead by inspiration the others. But at the beginning is a lot of adaptability. And then you get to a common level of speed and pace across the organization.
Once you've created ways of working that help you better collect and understand data about your customers, how do you go about making the right decisions based on it? Because it's one thing to have the data and it's another thing to know what to do with it and then what actions to take off the back of it.
So there is a part that is often, probably because it's considered less sexy than AI and ML and other things, that is always not mentioned probably, is the trust in data that you have to generate. So we have a lot of focus on data management and on creating that trusted data fabric. So when people access our data, first of all, they have to know that the data is good, is compliant, is in a good level of quality. So if you trust the data, then you can start to ask yourself more ambitious questions. And then from those more ambitious questions, you drive more sophisticated solution to answer the question. So it's a positive loop that you have to generate, and it starts with the trust in the data. Another important piece is, in a way, the trust on the exploitation of the data. So if you think AI as probably the high-end example of that, we need to generate trust in AI. Human nature usually drive us to use data to confirm what you already think is true, more than to challenge that. So to do that leap, you need to trust what a model tells you that an event could look like, for example. So we are doing a lot of work to generate that trust, to work on explainable AI, on having the right ethics around it. So because explainable AI is also important to understand if the AI has been applied in an ethical way, and also in a way that can be understood. So you do two things. You are able to explain why a certain decision has been suggested. So you gain a bit of trust of your stakeholders, but also you make sure that all the value chain that bring your solution to that answer is healthy. And in that way, you can then generate another positive loop, which is the business starting to really use data to give them a different point of view, and not just to, as I said before, confirm their own point of view. And I mean, we are still on the journey, but it's a topic that actually is trending in the industry a lot now, because the use of AI is increasing, and so there is an increased number of questions of, is that actually right? Is that actually ethical? Is that actually something that I can learn from? Because you cannot learn from a black box, right?
Absolutely. And Nina, what Lorenzo is talking about here, I suppose, in the broader sense, is the creation of a new layer of intelligence within a business. And he talked quite a bit there about artificial intelligence and machine learning. Just to rewind a little bit, what role can they play in unlocking value in that data? Obviously, understandability is crucial, and transparency. But what can AI do once we've got all this data that we wouldn't be able to do without it?
Yeah, I would say that probably there are two kind of interconnected factors here. The first one is the kind of a level of depth of insight that AI and ML can give, and speed that it can give that the classical analytics cannot really provide to the business, right? So Lorenzo gave some examples there, but it can really impact the business on the end-to-end value chain. And in an essence, it can answer questions around which orders are not going to be delivered on time, right? It can answer questions around which customers are likely to churn, which customers are likely to have bad experience and call you about it, or identify bad network experience. And it's relatively simple questions, but actually to get to the as Lorenzo said, an answer that is robust and that you trust and you can act on as a business requires sophisticated machinery, which AI/ML is, to run behind it. But once you have that confidence and once you have that knowledge, then you can move from reactive, which usually, with kind of a classical analytics you were, to proactive. And once knowing some of these answers that I gave, you can actually move to prevent some of the situation, right? So if I know which order is likely to be delayed, I can proactively go and try to make it on time and reduce the impact that it would have to the client, right? If I know customers on a bad journey, I can proactively go and fix it. So it's really changing the way business reacts with the customer and overall runs the whole operations and moving into more proactive way of working.
And it's come up quite a bit, trust and being able to understand why decisions are being taken by technology. It's a mistake, Nina, isn't it, to think of this as just a technological challenge. And this was something that Lorenzo mentioned at the top. This is a cultural and behavioral challenge too, especially for people within a business who are less used to being exposed to technology at this scale and with this much power and influence, if you like. So what are some of the key human challenges for businesses that want to become more data-driven in your view?
I mean, what you mentioned in terms of the trust and actually being able to adapt the new ways of working the AI/ML brings is one of the key challenges, right? That's change. And what is important is to make sure that the business really is a part of the kind of an end-to-end creation of the AI or ML product, right? And what I mean here is from ideation of the products itself in terms of bringing ideas about, what's the objective of that specific product? What is it really the answer that we want to get here, right? What are the right data signals and features that we need to answer it, to actually development of that data products in terms of assessing in performance, the actual business value, and trying to explain if whatever the specific AML product is actually showing makes sense. Also the feasibility in terms of applying it within the business, it's all very important. And also the biggest part is actually business operations, right? Because creation of the AML product by itself, it doesn't really change anything. What it has to be, it has to be integrated into business operations, and having business and enabled end-to-end gives you the confidence in terms of what was created because they were part of it, and it's much easier to adapt it and also drive that adoption within the business organization.
Lorenzo, on that point of integration, especially at a business working at the scale of BT, this journey that has accelerated, especially you said in the last 12 months, how difficult has that integration piece of the work been to make sure that the new way of working is interacting with the business that existed before it in a successful way?
Well, definitely there have been challenges, and as I said before, at the end of the day, it's all about, in a way, adapting to and accepting that the business doesn't run all at the same pace. So you have you have parts of the business which are very forward thinking, and they think positive in what they really need from data and what they want to get out of it in the longer term. There are parts of the business that see more the problems, and then you have to build that trust that is not there. So it was for us to set, I think that how we approached it is that we set up an operational team that was a bit of a complement to the organization as OD, as organizational design, and that set ourselves up as an enabling tribe that could go across the business and attack the different areas in different ways. Really helped. Then you have to be clever, as I said before. You have to also identify what are the opportunities where you can show something, because there is nothing better than something like, I've done this there, look what I've done. We can do even better here, rather than do thousands of slides and presentations. So you want to create 2 or 3 prototypes you can really showcase around. So I think the combination of these two things has helped. And I think we have a lot of focus on what we call business interlock. So you could think in a lean implementation machine, you wouldn't need a team that interlock other teams, because it works like a manufacturing line. No, everything passes workload to the next station. If it's all perfectly predictable and perfectly repeatable, but when you try to grow a strategy like this, there is a little repeatable and a little lean at the beginning. So you need really to partner with the business. So we have a set of people that really goes around and do this almost internal sales or sale or pre-sale to the business. And there are areas now that we don't have to do that anymore. They just come and we cooperate together. There are areas in which still we have to inspire, we have to let's say drive the conversation, we have to expose ideas, because the ideas don't come from the stakeholders. So hopefully this will progressively stabilize, but this is how we have to work. There is no sequential strategy. There is no, I do the defense and the offense. Data is always a dual strategy. You have offense in a way that you have to go on the offense, meaning you have to attack the opportunities while you create the foundation in parallel. And then it all becomes more sustainable. And this is the thing that we are starting to look now at, is scalability and sustainability of the strategy as well.
Let's talk about Customer 360. You were mentioning concrete examples. So this is a major project to come out of BT's work in this area to date. So what are you able to do now that you weren't able to do, let's say, 18 months ago?
Yeah, so Customer 360 and probably is a lot heard of, and it sounds basic. But if you think BT Global especially, a customer for us is another multinational corporation. So the customer is a quite complex entity, and we follow and we partner with the customer through all the life cycle, more than you would do in the consumer space, for example. So we of course we do the sale, we configure products, we agree on what that means technically, we deliver the service, we assure all the service, and it's a lot of interaction. BT Global has always been very customer focused. There was a lot of focus on big customers, of course, and they're all big in our case. But I think that what we have to build is a bit of that connected dynamic view that connects all the different parts of the journey. So now we are able to take decisions in how we build the product based on what happened in the service delivery or assurance, or based on geolocation, or based on what we have seen in other customers happening. So we have created that we are still is an iterative product that we are working on, an interconnected view. Also, that view helps to link other works that we are doing for specific domains. For example, we are working on understanding better the customer with marketing and with the sales workforce to potentially anticipate what could be a customer need. We are working in assurance to predict issues, so to make sure that an issue rather is solved before to happen, or at least before it becomes a customer issue. All these things are domain specific, but through Customer 360, then we can connect them to understand from an end-to-end perspective how we are doing with a customer, or our customers perceives us end-to-end and in a very rounded way. So this is super important because then can derive a lot more actions in, as I said, in the specific areas and in the specific parts of the customer journey. And then we wrap it up and we say, oh, overall, the experience we are giving to our customers is good, bad, average, and we know what areas can be improved, and we know what to ask or what to say and how to do with the customers, depending on what is happening across the whole journey, not just in one part of it.
Nina, just to pick up on something Lorenzo was saying there's an idea that having this holistic view of customers and a really, really detailed view of customers and their needs and how well you're serving them, that this approach to doing business can, in a way, make new business for you as a company, right? That you're able to see opportunities to better serve customers and to introduce new things into your business that enables you to operate more efficiently or to improve profit margins. Is that something that you're seeing across companies that are shifting to this way of working?
Yes, definitely. I mean, if you're asking if the clients I work with, trying or working to leverage data and AI to improve the customer experience and improve the way that they serve to them, kind of end-to-end, definitely. It's a challenge that everyone is trying to tackle. I think the biggest thing that is a common there, though, is what Lorenzo said. It's actually having this view of customer and knowing from the beginning to end what is the journey look like, what they are. And the reality is that majority of the clients and customers do not have that. And what Lorenzo mentioned there is, how quickly really you can start realizing the value with the data that you have, right? You don't need to have the full 360, right? Because it's all the data, it's all the information. In reality, it takes time to get there. But you don't need to have all of it available to start answering some questions and start improving the value of the client. That's when everyone is shifting to this more iterative kind of a model of working to start activating value as soon as possible. An example that Lorenzo gave here on 360, right? The question is really what the business wants to know. If I want to know what is the kind of a journey of my customers, that means I need to bring the interactions, which usually sits around various different systems in one place, group them into journeys and analyzing, right? That's the first step to start understanding who is having good journey and bad journey. You can then start adding additional level of information to start answering different questions in terms of, how does it journey different for valuable customer or not? How does it impact my churn? How does it impact my concerns? And you just keep adding and adding and kind of driving that information knowledge to the business. But that's everyone is kind of on that journey to get there.
I think you used the word there, Nina, iterative, right? This isn't a one size fits all approach, be it the work that BT has gone through with Customer 360 or the work that it's now doing with individual customers, each business is going to implement this in a different way for itself and then come up with plans for ways of serving customers that are different again. So the more data you have, the more iterative this gets.
Yeah, that's right. It's more data you have, the more, of course, you can improve your models, but also the more you will find out. But it's not only about gathering the more data, it's one aspect of that, but also about creating something with that you have, something that you can implement robust enough and actually test it, right? Test it in some kind of environment, learn how it works, apply the learnings and improve, apply the learnings, make it better and improve again. So it's a combination of being able to rapidly deploy into live kind of an environment to your business operation to test and understand how it's performing, improve it, and also add additional layer of insight with incremental data that you continue to add and gather about your customers.
And I think somebody mentioned it earlier. My way of putting it would be that this range of data and this depth of data allows you to maybe not predict the future, but definitely to glimpse it and to move from being reactive to being proactive. So Lorenzo, what's that meant for BT in practice?
Well, I mean, if you think our strategy and our view is to move from supplier for our customers to be really a trusted partner. So and partnership means that your relation has to be a lot closer, and the customer has to perceive that you are not only do what he asks, but you are really trying to understand what he wants and what he needs. So to be able to move from just reacting to issues or requests or opportunities to anticipate that is basically exactly the biggest enabler to that strategy, because it puts the company out ahead of the curve. So we are going to start to say, okay, there is this problem likely to happen, but we can act on it before it becomes a customer problem. We can say the customer is changing something in its own business, which will require our service to adapt. And before that becomes a requirement because the customer is struggling, we can say, oh, we are seeing this. We are seeing this context change, and this is how we can adapt your service for you. We can anticipate based on what we see on other customers, because we are in the privileged position to be at the edge between our suppliers and our customers, and so we can see what's happening in the whole ecosystem and convert that into actionable, good insights that we can provide to our customers. So it is really a major enabler. Because it makes that partnership real and bidirectional. And what I mean bidirectional is that what we are working on is also to get more information from our partners and our customers to make really that rich ecosystem, to make more predictions, to be more proactive, to be more true partners. So yeah, fundamental for our strategy, fundamental for our vision.
Lorenzo mentioned proactive approaches and sort of personalization and really working on the relationship with each individual client. Nina, I suppose what we're talking about here is the importance of retaining customers and how getting out ahead of problems and predicting them before they happen is a real competitive advantage.
Yes, I mean, it is definitely a competitive advantage. And the question is about all the companies are on their journey. So you really need to start working and be very sophisticated in that area to be ahead of the curve, right? Everyone is working that area to retain the customer, to provide the best service so they stay with, so the customers stay with them for as long as possible, from end to end, from the service, from the right offering, from the right pricing. So, if you don't do it, someone else will do it. So you definitely need to keep a track and continuous with that trend and try to leverage technology, business ideas, creativity, enabled by data and AI to really give you that advantage.
And Lorenzo, as we come to the end of our conversation, that's a good opportunity to talk a little about the future. So at the beginning, we were talking about how things were 12, 18 months ago. What are your ambitions for this data-driven approach in the coming years? Where do you want it to go?
But for me, what I see coming in the incoming years, or even in the next 12 to 18 months, to be honest, is first of all start to look. So we are looking inwards a lot on how we get better and how we got better operation, but we need to really embed data and AI in our products. So make our products a lot smarter and let's say personalized for what our customer needs or what the verticals that our customers work in needs. I think the other big point is we want processes and operation that we run as a business to be a lot automated and light touch. And this is where data and AI play an active role, because you can not only automate a repeatable process, but start to add decision points or intelligence points into the processes to be better and more efficient. So we really want to do that and to become quite advanced in that as well. I think another aspect is, as I said, our relation with the customer doesn't end when we deliver the service, because our services are complex, have to be constantly adapted for the customers. Complex meaning they are big services, widespread, geographically distributed, because our customers are geographically distributed. So there is a need of adapting them, of constantly tuning them. All that has to become basically automatically managed, including self-filling when there are issues, for example. So this is the ambition that we have. And we are seeing already incredible results in the early stages of that journey. So we are really positive and ambitious on what we want to achieve in that area. I think the bit that I mentioned probably at the beginning about trust, it's the other bit. So our organization needs to trust the data. Data is to be in their core business. So everyone, we are working on the concept of data science citizens. So every member of the organization needs to have a degree of literacy, access, and an amount of work they are doing with our data. It has to be part of whatever they do every day. So we need to create that trusted data fabric and make it sustainable. Now, you and Nina mentioned about the fact that you constantly have to build on top of data and AI to retain customers and to be a competitive business. That's important. That's very important. And our business change very often. Our customers change very often. So all of the work we do has to be focused on how we then keep evolving it. There is not anymore a big effort done and then you have to redo it all from scratch. We don't have the luxury. We don't have that time. We need to work with the idea that our work is going to be in constant evolution. So the trusted layer is massively important. And all of this will leverage, and still is already leveraging, but we leverage more and more cloud scalable capabilities because we need that adaptability. So this is where I see us going. And this is still in line with the first point I made of our central strategy, distributed and ubiquitous execution of it.
Nina, I imagine Lorenzo probably touched on quite a lot of it there, but if I could get you to look into the future a little bit as well, what are the key innovations in this space that you're keeping an eye on and that you expect to be making waves in the years to come?
Yeah, it's probably kind of a building on what you both said, right? Lorenzo mentioned a couple of times that BT in a very near future will have more and more data and AI models, right? Running pretty much in an autonomous way. And you've also, James, mentioned that a lot of companies is on the same journey. So really where the companies are, they're becoming more powerful in terms of how they can leverage their data. And because of that, they'll start to create this AI ecosystem with lots of AI ML models running. So I think a big thing there will be proper governance around that AI ecosystem and some kind of a level, which also Lorenzo mentioned about in terms of trusting that data, but from the ethical point of view, in terms of how this is being used in a fair way to the customers, right? In essence, their data. And given this broad AI ecosystem, I think there will be lots of potential products that could be easily implemented to really help companies to manage that as one. The other thing I would say, each of the kind of AI ML models that we touched about are really narrow. They're very good in answering specific questions. They don't have the generic kind of knowledge that we have, right? It's a narrow intelligence. But again, we will continue growing that specific points of answers for a narrow questions. and really being able to connect that together, and one model feeding another to generate more general knowledge will be probably something that will come around orchestrating that and making it quite easy to go from narrow AI ML kind of point answer to something more comprehensive.
It's not quite artificial intelligence or general artificial intelligence, but it's a step towards it.
Right,
Nina, yeah. Nina, Lorenzo, thanks so much for taking the time to unpick this fascinating topic with us today. And thanks to all of you for taking the time to watch and listen.